I don't even know what sparked it. I just like walked in my mom's house, just broke down.
Yeah.
Like I had gone over there to pick something up. It wasn't even like we weren't even talking about anything. Yeah. I just like broke down. I was like, I've got to
Shout out to all the moms out there.
No doubt. But I was just like, I've got to get out of this.
Yeah.
Like I can't keep doing this any longer. Thankfully, I got fired like 2 weeks later.
Was that for God? God had that plan?
I think it was a God thing. What's up? Welcome back to the Pointman podcast. My name is Zach. I get the opportunity to serve as the Pointman pastor here at that church. And I'm joined today by Luke and Shane, as always, pretty much these days. Yep. But before we get into today's topic, I want to remind you why we do this in the first place. The Pointman podcast exists to help men reach a relationship with Jesus, to make Jesus known to men everywhere, to connect men to their Bible, and to give them the opportunity to dive in it, apply its teachings in their life into different aspects of what they've got going on. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. And we are so thankful and excited that we get to do that, and we get to be a part of that journey for you in your life and in your faith walk. So today is kind of a big day for that kind of conversation,
for sure.
For diving into what it means to be a Christian man, and some of the things that we go through and that we deal with, and that we're discussing depression.
Yes. Yep.
And the main question of the day is, can a Christian be depressed? Is it okay for a Christian man to be depressed?
If we answer that question, we get to leave right after this.
No.
Okay.
We can answer it, but we're going to continue.
Not a one-word answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just say, yep.
We got to get
bye.
deep into the theological weeds.
Yeah, dudes talking about dudes about being depressed.
Depressed.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So let's answer it. Can Christian men be depressed?
I think so.
I think so as well.
Yes. I think that Christian men can be depressed. I think that there are times in our life where depression is a part of what's going on. And we're going to talk through combating that and what the Bible has to say about it, and maybe some misguided thoughts that we have on the topic of depression. Let me do a preface for this whole conversation, though. If you are dealing with something in the realm of depression,
there you go.
Seek professional help now. Yes. Find a counselor, find a biblical counselor. Stop watching this. Go and find that person who can invest in you from a mental health standpoint. Go there now. Do that. That is the first and foremost the thing that you should be doing. If this is a topic that you're dealing with and something you're going through, the point of this conversation from our point of view is to look at what the Bible has to say on depression, and as well as maybe some of the misnomers around Christians dealing with depression. We are not medical professionals, and we are not here to diagnose and help you come out of depression necessarily.
It's not weak to get help.
That's it.
100%.
So stop now and go do that if that's where you're at. Otherwise, hang out with us as we're going to dive into this topic.
Yeah, so we have an episode on anxiety if you want to go back and watch that. Those kind of go a little bit hand in hand, I think.
I think they go together.
A little bit. So go back and watch the episode. Really good episode as well. And then we also, there's so many examples of people who are depressed in the Bible who went through certain really tough situations in their life. And so there's no question about it. Like, yes, Christians have these same vulnerabilities as anyone else does to become depressed or in the state of depression. So I think it's just a really good topic and very easy to dive into. Lots of references that I have. I don't know about you guys, about people who were depressed and trying to get through that in their life.
No doubt. I mean, I think the person who stood out to me the most when I started thinking about men in the Bible who dealt with depression is Elijah. And the main reason is because we see kind of a juxtaposition, big word, of his like
for me too.
His like glorious moment of power, like calling fire from heaven, killing all of the prophets of Baal, this incredible moment of his life, to just not one chapter later, I don't even know if it's a chapter, I think it's one section of scripture later. He's on the run and he's depressed because Jezebel has said, I'm coming for you. I'm coming after you.
Yeah, so the verse you're talking about is 1 Kings 19:3. Hilarious that we both got, not hilarious. The Lord showed us both that this is the verse that we need to speak about. And so it was 1 Kings 19:3. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba in the town of Judah, and he left his servant there. Literally right before this, he just called down hellfire and burn up an altar.
Heaven fire.
Actually. Yeah, heaven fire. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, my bad. And then he called on the name of God to bring rain in the land. And then right after that, he's in just a deep depression and running scared for his life.
Yeah, verse 4 in that same section, it says, "But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom tree, and he asked that he might die, saying, 'It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers.'" I was studying this for the semester. We talked about Elijah, and part of what I was studying in this, and in my conversations with people surrounding this piece, this section of the conversation of Elijah, something was kind of revealed that I thought was really interesting. You're talking about someone who has just been on top, just over and over again. It's like, come on, God, come on, bring this kid back from the dead.
Bunch of W's.
Yeah, never-ending sustenance.
Yeah.
Survival in the middle of the greatest drought in the land. Bringing fire from heaven down to consume the altar, killing the prophets of Baal. All of these things happen, and yet it's still not enough. And he's dealing with this, like, she's still coming. Like, I've done everything. God has provided everything. We've had this incredible power in all of these instances, but it wasn't enough. And I think that guys and men, a lot of times it's like, I have provided. I have bought a house. I pay the bills. I play with my kids. I read them Bible stories, but like, it's still not enough. I'm still being chased by or haunted by this thing. I'm still having these conversations that are tough and hard and I shouldn't have to be dealing with. I think we see that a lot in our real life. I don't think that's just a biblical narrative that's stuck in the Bible. I think it's something that men truly deal with a lot.
Well, the enemy's in different forms, you know. The enemy comes at you in all different ways.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's the greatest accuser of all, right?
Yes.
So it'll accuse you of being depressed.
But I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
But if we look at the beginning of Scripture, man's entire part of the life of a man is the search for significance.
There you go. Yeah, calling,
And so if we have this search for significance and we feel like we're doing everything we can and we're still not accomplishing enough, there's still something holding us back. We're going to find ourselves in this place where... Are we good enough? Are we enough to accomplish this task? Is someone better suited for what I'm trying to accomplish? You do find yourself in a sort of depressed state.
That's why you call on the Lord for strength, because you can't do it alone. So you always got to reach higher and higher for your prayer. And
for sure. So there was a story that I wanted to bring up. So we talked about it last week. I know we're not in the Act Like Men anymore. We're in topics, but Elijah we did talk about, and then Samson was the other one that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to him. The high peak of his life, something amazing will happen, and then it's like kind of the crash and the fall of right after something amazing happens to you. I think the same thing happens to me in my life too. Like something amazing and awesome will happen, do something amazing, awesome for God, and then all of a sudden, right after that, I'm just like kind of feel like, oh man, just like a peak from the stock market peaked, and then all of a sudden it's leveled back down. You know, correcting.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah,
type of deal.
it just kind of feel like you're going back down after a crazy, wild experience that you've had. Samson did the same thing. He killed 1,000 people with the jawbone of a donkey, and then all of a sudden, right after that, like verse later in the Bible, where he talks about he's just sad and depressed because he doesn't have water, and he's just physically not able to do it, and he's like, God, why is this happening to me? Depression, and that can just seep into your life if sometimes we have those peaks. So it's not abnormal if you have this great accomplishment in your life, and then right after that, you're just filled dark and empty and depressed, because that happens to everybody.
Well, one thing I want to point out on both of those stories together, kind of wrap them up, is you see the same thing happen in both stories. There's a return to a reliance on God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to get to something similar.
So they get to this peak of like, I have accomplished everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you forget that God provided the success in the first place.
Right.
Both stories. In Elijah's story, he hears him in the still small whisper, and he returns the way he came. He went back through hell to accomplish what God told him to do, to go and raise up the next prophet, and Elijah to go install the next king. He sent him back the way he came. Samson the same way. And it's like, I just feel a sermon in it. It's like, and his hair began to grow. Like, you know, it's like, it's coming back. His hair is coming back. He's returning to the will of God and to do what God intended for him in the first place. Yeah, sure. And that significant thing really plays a role in this, because we find it like, I can accomplish this.
Yeah.
That arrogance starts to set in.
Yeah,
it's
pride.
like, oh, it's on me. My power and ability is extremely limited to what I can do, which is extremely limited in the grand scheme of the world. What God can do is limitless, and provides incredible strength even in those tough times.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the remedies that I wrote down and that I kind of gathered when I was reading through both of those stories, you need to get back on mission. Yes, you might have come up with something great and amazing, something happened in your life, but you need to get back on the horse, get back to serving and being on mission for God. That's the only way you're going to get through that tough moment in your life is if you doing what you're supposed to be doing, what God tells you to do. That's a great remedy for it, is just get back on mission, start serving again, get back in your word, start praying.
So this New Testament verse that I found was, it's Matthew 11:28. It's, come to me, all who labor and are heavy burden, heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Yes. So you on that mountain, you fall off of it, find him again.
Yes.
And whatever dark hole that you find yourself in, there's light.
Yep.
Go to it. Don't push it away. You need help, whether it be through prayer, through serving, community. Don't be, like I said, don't be afraid to get back out there.
Amen.
The uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, and to that point, when you find yourself under your own, when you're trying to figure it out on your own, and you're trying to get back to community, when you're trying to get back into your faith. I mean, I think Philippians 4:6 and 7, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ.
That's good.
So it's not just that, like,
I've heard you say that a couple times before.
I usually stop at 6.
Yeah,
7 is...
The first part rambled off pretty good.
Takes it to the next level.
Yeah, 7 is like that.
Paul was
in
good.
all understanding in Christ Jesus, you'll be redeemed, essentially. So you're never so far away from him that you can't come back
And
into
I think
a relationship with
people
him.
feel that.
Yeah, they do.
I'm
Yeah.
worthless. I'm not good enough for God. I've done all these terrible things. I've made these poor decisions in my life. I'm dirt. I'm not good. Like, have you read the Bible? Have you seen who God used in the Old Testament for his mission? Some of the wildest of animals to help him come back, have a righteous heart, make that decision to start putting your faith in God and go from there.
Yeah, for sure.
Jonah, example of this.
Yep.
He makes one poor decision after another poor decision after another one until finally God's like, you're going where I wanted you in the first place. Here's how it's going to happen. Good luck. But you find him. He's like, I'm not going to Nineveh.
Yep.
So he goes, I'm not going this way. I'm getting on the boat. He gets thrown off the boat. It's like, one step after another, he makes these decisions trying to take on his own power and ability to overcome the situation. And at the end, God's like,
I think it's also, I don't know what you guys think about this. Also, it could be literally every day you kind of have to fight this battle of, do I need to be sad or am I sad? Because certain situations, even like, I don't want to get too personal, but like yesterday, I was even going through like a little tough spurt in my life where I was kind of like woke up like just in the mood of like, ugh. I don't know if you guys ever have that feeling where you just wake up in the day.
Speak it, brother.
As soon as you roll over, you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? And like, I need to get in my Bible. I need to pray because today is just already starting. I bet nothing's even bad happening. It's like, I'm just getting up and
it's a cloud.
So I'm getting up and I'm working, but it's like, man, I need to get into the Word because even today is just my life is great comparatively to everything else. Is my family's healthy. I have a great relationship with my wife.
Before you showed up, before we got on camera, we're talking about you got to pick your cross up every day.
Yeah.
It's a cliche saying that we all say it, but we know it's biblical.
Yeah.
And you got to focus on God, and then you go from there.
I don't know if it's cliche. In the Bible, Hebrew...
It's a real churchy saying. It's a churchy saying.
But in Hebrew, they use repetition to show importance. I think that we should use repetition to show importance.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thought that we forget.
Yeah, Luke, absolutely, man. Like, there's days where I'm like, man, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
I got to work for the man or work, whatever it is. Or, hey, I've got to not be a parent and make sure I make a good decision, be righteous in what I have to say. And it can be
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. I hear really frequently from like the 20 to 30-year-old generation of people, like, and it's a worldly thought process. Not that it's wrong fully, but in its essence, it's a worldly thought process. Like, I need a mental health day to take care of this.
Yeah, that's a cliche thing. Yeah,
but it's in this
a me day.
But it's that. It's like you wake up and you're in this mode where it's like I mentally am drained. I'm physically drained. We've all woken up and been like, I don't want to go to work today.
No.
There's like
Monday's President's Day. I can't help it.
My head is heavy. My heart is heavy for some reason.
Bad attitude, just a horrible
Bad attitude.
Yeah.
Wife and you were getting in an argument. Your kids ticked you off the night before. There's some reason, but for this generation of people, it's like I need to take a me day. I need to control the situation. The outcome. Do you need a day off? Maybe. I'm not saying that you're wrong that you don't need to take some time off.
Paid day off.
But I think if you take the mindset of I need a me day, I need to recharge, reset, rejuvenate, you're wrong because you need to be reinvesting in your faith. You need to be pulling in from the life source instead of trying to, again, be self-reliant in these tough situations and in these tough times.
Yeah, the only thing that got me back on track yesterday after I was like telling JC, I'm like, man, I'm just in a bad mood. Like, I'm grumpy. And she was just like, what's wrong? Like, literally nothing. It's just I'm in this kind of funk. And it's just for today. Like, the day before I was fine. Today I'm fine. It's just that one day. So I think depression not only can be little spurts, it also has that range to be months. And I feel like, I don't know if we're talking about just the days or we're talking about the spread out.
No, we can go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think depression. Yeah, I was just thinking in the realm of like.
Sure.
But that's how you get into those months, though, by being self-reliant.
That's good.
Instead of mission focused on God.
A compounding issue.
Right. It snowballs itself.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to dig myself in deeper into the problem that I've created for myself. Yeah. You've been on deployment before.
Yeah.
So I have too.
Yeah.
You get into these funks, these ruts, and you're like, I'm just punching the clock down. What am I doing here?
Yep.
You know, and you just get into these things, and every phone call home makes it worse. Every letter home. Nowadays, I think most of these guys have access to social media. That's not good for them. Cut them off from it while they're in deployment. But when it comes to like the person itself, not the military, I mean, the person itself who has a faith, they need to focus on that while they're gone. And then you can get into some major depression. That's where a lot of our vets come home. They don't have help.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, one of the things that I want to talk about today, you said that Elijah best points it out in your life, but I was thinking there's another character in the Bible who really specifies and really dives deep into depression. I know we talked about him already, but Job.
Yeah.
That dude was...
Well, I mean, from a human... rightly so.
Yes. Rightly so.
I think Job's honestly a pretty... Other than he does... Careful here. I think Job does a very good job of setting an example of how to deal with tough times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Job, caveat, does have a point where he gets to the point where he's like, I wish I'd never been born.
Yeah.
So he does deal with depression.
Right.
And he's dealing with it as probably our best example of how to deal with a tough time.
Yeah, worst case, best case scenario, Job's worst case.
Yeah.
You know, best case is your car got stolen. You know, like Job is on the extreme
the best
spectrum.
case your car gets stolen.
Oh, you're just sad your car you're on.
I'm just saying, like Job lost everything.
Yes, for sure. So looking at Job's life, he dealt with depression for sure, and that's a big one I looked at. But then there's also, if you read, I don't know if you ever like in a sad mood and you're in like kind of like deep depressed. If you ever listen to like a sad song and it makes you feel better.
Dude, I listen to sad. It's called sad
You know
cowboy.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't do that.
You know what I'm talking
Sad
about?
cowboy music will get you every time.
Well, I'm saying like it puts me in
What's
a
that
better
like?
mood.
I should have been a cowboy.
Most played song of the 90s on the radio, by the way.
Interesting.
Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say like
R.I.P. Toby Keith.
you brought up too soon.
Sorry.
You brought
You're
up
right.
You brought up being on deployment, right? And so when I was on deployment, some days you going through it, it just happens. It doesn't matter if you're deployed or not.
Command is like awful at you, you know?
Yeah. And so sometimes I would just sit there and listen to like a sad album, like a depressing sad album. And like after that, I'm like, oh man, I feel so much better. Like I could relate to that.
That's interesting.
And that's how I feel about whenever you like read Job or read Ecclesiastes. You read it and it's like, I'm in this sad, depressed mood, but you can kind of go through it with somebody. I don't know if that's one of the reasons
that's support.
that
God's supporting you through the word of God, like His own word.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know if that's one of the reasons that they put that God decided to have Job in the Bible, but it's like it makes me feel a little bit better reading it because, like, man, Job gets it.
You know, Job's the oldest text in the Bible, so it's technically written before even the Genesis story was written. And I think it's interesting. I think personally, this is not. I have no biblical backing for this. But I honestly think that it's in that. It was the first book written to express this, to express that they're not all good days, that there is
That's good.
some difficulty and there is some strife that's coming. And here's an example of how to overcome it.
Yeah, we're living a fallen, broken world. Here's a guy who went through that same thing. So you're going to go through that. Here's an example of a guy who did it. Yeah. And he knows how you felt on your worst day because he went through that.
You're going to deal with your dead kid. Okay, Job did that, and he lost all of his property. You're going to deal with a tornado taking out your house. Okay, Job did that, but his kids died, and he got boils on his back. You're going to deal with the
wife that he
a
had.
wife that is just literally tells you to curse God and die.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, your friends are coming. They're not going to be any help either. Like, he sets this weird example of like multifaceted implosion on a moment, on a
It's the
situation.
oldest text in the Bible, and we can still apply it to today. Isn't that wild?
I think it's just going through it. Going through it this semester and thinking through it. It's incredibly applicable. And you can look at it and be like, there's so many things to take from
you
the
separate it
story.
from like a faith side of stuff. Just separate it from the faith side of stuff. You just look at it as in the adversity that he went through and what culturally people can apply it today.
But you can't separate it.
No, you can't. I'm just saying.
I think that's
if you
one
wanted
of the,
to
that's one of
dissect it and apply it.
Themes though of that is that like if Job didn't have this incredible faith in God, whenever the first messenger hits the house door, he's imploding probably. I'm not gonna put that on Job. Maybe he's a bad dude, but
yeah, I mean,
he's imploding. I'm
if
imploding.
we were in that situation, we would. Yes,
yeah, I'm emotional.
When the second one hit, I don't know where I'm going. When the third one hit without God, we in trouble.
Yes,
I can tell you, we're in trouble. But with God, you have the ability. And again, we talked about it during the semester. It doesn't explicitly say he had time to mourn. It reads like he just drops to his knees and starts to worship. Yeah. And he might have. I gotta think though that there's some mourning time in there. You know, at least like take a beat, be like, I have nothing. Like everything has been taken from me. Yeah. And then he drops to it. Y'all are talking about deployment, and I have so whenever my first job out of college, I lived in Mississippi 5 days of the week, and I would go to Mississippi. I'd work there for 5 days, and I'd come home on the weekends and back and forth every week. For like 8 months, I did this.
It's rough.
And I fell into a true depression. Because I lived in a hotel. I was by myself.
No community.
Absolutely zero community, except for the people at the bar. Shout out people at the Embassy Suites bar.
Oh my gosh.
Keep them coming.
I mean, seriously.
Keep them strong.
I'm just going to be honest. And that's a self-reliance issue. Because I could have gone and found community. I'm there 5 days a week.
You're self-medicating through the bar.
In my mind, I was like, I'm just going to hang out here. It's easy. It's
comfortable.
Cheap. I can just sit here in the hotel. I don't have to go anywhere.
Going and find that community would be the uncomfortable.
I was in Mississippi. It's like going to Dallas. There's a church on every other street corner. Like it would have been so easy for me to go.
Bibles and booze.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. To go find that community. And for so many people, it's like it's so simple as just getting in your car and going next door. Or community is so important. I remember though coming home in the end of that, and I was like, I'd gotten to the point where I was like, this is done. I think this is a twofold conversation. One, it's community, like you say, and it's like you're isolated, you're on your own. You need community of people around you. But two, I was out of line with God's will for my life.
There you go. Yeah.
It was just point blank. I was not living. One, I was not living the sinless life that He wants us to aspire to. But I also wasn't living in His will for my life either. I was underutilizing the talent, skills, and abilities that He had given me, and I was just living in this comfortable space.
Yeah, the enemy closed you off, man.
Yeah, and so I remember getting to the breaking point of like I don't even know what sparked it. I just like walked in my mom's house, and just broke down. Yeah, like I had gone over there to pick something up. It wasn't even like we weren't even talking about anything. Yeah. I just like broke down. I was like, I've got to
shout out to all the moms out there.
No doubt. But I was just like, I've got to get out of this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't keep doing this any longer. Thankfully, I got fired like 2 weeks later.
Was that for God? God had that plan?
I think it was a God thing. Yeah. There was no reason really to get fired. What happened was I was like a trial
pilot.
Yeah, for this like position. They were trying to find a way to
justify it.
Bring a bunch of people on in a quick way. And I was one of those people, and the program didn't work. Yeah. And so my job was terminated. But it was like literally a week and a half after this moment of like revelation of like, I can't do this anymore. Like we're done. But I think it's significant to understand that one, your significance is important and your search for significance is important. And what's the quote? Men live lives of quiet desperation.
You're on the one. You're more philosophizer than me.
I don't know.
There's a quote. I'll figure it out in the break, but it's men live lives of quiet desperation. We're always seeking something. We're always seeking that significance. That significance is given by God. He has a will for your life, and I think it's ignorant to not pay attention to it.
All right, I want to read
Amen.
I want to read a verse, and we can discuss it.
Throw it out there.
All right, so this is Ecclesiastes, my favorite book in the Bible, because it is so sad. I don't know why. It's just it's a if you read it, you'll know it's sad, but it's also great.
It's kind of romantic, right?
No, that's
not in
that's
the way of love. I'm talking about like the way it's put out there for what you're talking about.
Sure. If you want to read it that way, sure.
Yeah.
It's Ecclesiastes 5:15-18 is the first one I don't want to read. It's the first one that stood out to me that I read this week that I was like, man, this is good. This needs to go into the depression. It says, we all come to the end of our lives as naked and as empty-handed on the day that we were born. It's like, man, you read that, you're like, all right, great, awesome, thanks, Bible. And we can't take our riches with us. And this, too, is a very serious problem. People live in this world no better off than when they came. And in their hard work is for nothing, like working for the wind. Throughout their lives, they are under a cloud, frustrated, discouraged, and angry. Felt that many days in my life. Even so, I have noticed one thing, at least, that is good. And it is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. Accept your lot in life. Yes, like it says, you are going to live in this life. Everyone is going to have days where they are under a cloud, frustrated and discouraged and angry. It's like, you can't live the life without going through those emotions. We're going to go through it. Here's the remedy to that, though. Work hard for whatever you do, do it for the Lord.
Yep.
And accept your lot in this life. And that was my word for this year is contentment, and be content with working and accepting the things that happen to me, because good things and bad things are all happening to me because God wants them to. Yeah, so that's why my word for the year is to be content, because of what Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes. During this short life God has given them, and accept their lot in life. Eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun. What do you guys think about that verse?
So I think it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong when I say this.
Yeah.
I do think that it's right.
Mm-hmm.
What I do think about that is that when contentment in your life, I don't think that means to just lie down where you're at.
No, I don't
aspire to succeed.
Associating with joy in Jesus.
I think it's my understanding of this passage in this context would be that we're talking about like envy, like the the thief of joy being envy instead of
100%.
But you could read it, and if you were like a super literal person, you're like, I am a toilet cleaner.
Yeah,
that's what I do for a living. If you're a toilet cleaner and you hear this, I love you, but
janitor.
If I never want to, the Bible said this is what I'm doing, and I'm never allowed to do anything else. That's not what's going on here.
No, it's not.
But it is, I think, saying like, if you're the toilet cleaner, like, don't look at the sink cleaner and be like, oh, they're so much better. I can't ever accomplish that.
Well, I do have another verse on Ecclesiastes, but I want to read the last verse just real quick. Kind of clears that same thing up. Is this says, Ecclesiastes 12:13 says, that is the whole story. Now here's my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do, including the secret things, whether good or bad. So he's saying, here's my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands. Follow God.
Yeah.
Do what he tells you to do. That's in conclusion,
in the
after all these things that are worthless that you chase after and you follow, those things are pointless and worthless. Follow God and obey his commands.
It's a great section to sit for a second in. We live in a social media world. We live in the uber connected world. We live in the world of envy. Like,
oh yeah, there you go.
Even doing the right things, we live in a world of envy.
Keeping up with the Joneses type attitude.
Yeah, but you'll see, like, if you are working in, like, we do this podcast, we have a ministry. Like, to say that we don't look at other people doing men's ministry, other people doing podcasts similar,
creative leisure.
Yeah, we don't look. It's not. We look at them and we're like, oh, that would be cool if we did that, or that would be cool if we could do that. I think there's value in that. Yeah, you're seeing success, you're seeing how to accomplish it. But if we got to the point where this wasn't about helping men connect to the Bible, it was about growing the biggest following in the world, which we could focus all of our time on how to do that if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
but we don't. We look at what we think men need to hear about. We think about the Bible and what the Bible says about it, and we deliver that in this conversation.
What reach I have, what reach you have, and what reach you have for our community is what we're focused on, and it'll go from there. We put it out for the whole world.
Yep.
Yeah.
We pray it starts here and goes from there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we would just do reaction videos, and then just the most controversial things we could possibly find is what we'd put on.
We
YouTube.
would talk about the Book of Enoch.
No, we would just take the
Nephilim and all this clickbait stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how does that?
We would wake
spread?
up on Sunday morning. We would look at the most recent politically charged conversation on Twitter, and then we would talk about that, and we would put it out tonight, and that's what we would do. And we would do it once a week if we really wanted.
Then
to
you're going to get in the weeds
down.
in the comments, and that's not going to work out. You know, like how can we help someone get to salvation? How can we spread the word of God?
No.
Not did angels come down from heaven and mingle with humans and half angel.
I'm not saying we won't ever have that conversation.
Yeah, we might.
There'll be a day. There'll be a
Today
day.
we're not, but I'm not saying we won't someday. But in that, it's like, and that's not
We're talking about depression here, and we're going. What's the medicine for depression?
Yeah. And it's for some people, it's turn it off.
Yeah.
For some people, it's shut off your Instagram, delete it, get off of Facebook.
Yeah.
For some people, it's moderate. It's like, hey, pay attention to what you're doing.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Know what you're looking at. Know who you're looking at. Why are you following these people?
Man, the envy thing is a great example. That is, we are that. We look at how can we get something more shiny.
Yeah. If you're a car guy, you look at every car account.
Yeah.
And you're like, how can I get that car?
Yeah.
If you're a sneaker guy, it's like, oh, those new Yeezys dropping on Thursday. Like, I got to get this color, this color. And like, you begin to get in this and you begin to make poor decisions.
Yeah.
And I think those poor decisions can lead to a depression. One, either you're literally just depressed. You can't get what this person has and you don't know the path. I think that's where we're talking about this verse comes into play very well. And two, it's like, why can't I? Yeah. Why can't I accomplish this? Why don't I have all of these things?
Yes.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we talked about that off camera. It was like 6 months ago. It looks nothing like my life now because I wanted it real bad then. I wanted to do it my way.
Yeah.
And that's why we're praying and focusing on God and let Him make His decision. And it's not my timeline, man. That's His timeline.
But that's the whole, we just kind of are coming out of this red pill society of men where it's like men go attack the day, achieve, take what you want and hold no prisoners. And the problem, there's a lot of problems with that community, but one of the main problems with it is back to that idea of self-reliance. And it's back to that arrogance of you go achieve. Yeah. You do it now.
You become your own God at that point.
Exactly. Worship yourself. Don't care about the women in your life. Don't care about the God of your life. Don't care about anything except for what you can do and how you achieve it.
Man, you can go depressed easily with that because you're not going to achieve any of those things.
That's the resolution most of the time.
If you do achieve those things, there's no weight eternally with those things.
It's Deion Sanders. He's like, I partied with all the parties, had all the women, did all the things, but it wasn't until I found God that I felt fulfilled. I just butchered that, but it's a great.
You paraphrase.
It's a great point by Deion.
Yeah. All right. So is it all right if we switch gears real quick?
Sure.
So I know we covered the topic of coveting other people have, and you want that. I've been in that same situation in my life where I see somebody's house and I'm like, dude, I want that giant fat
I can
house.
say I've never seen a house. I'm like, I want that house
with the diving board and the swimming pool and
and
the sick. They got a giant gym in their yard, and I'm like, dude, that'd be so sick. But we've all been there. There's no way you're gonna be happy in your life when you keep following, and even if you get those things, you're still gonna be sad. You're still gonna impress. Stop chasing after those things because it's not gonna lead to happiness and fulfillment. Anyway, that is what you guys are talking about.
Luke, I love you, man.
Get off of that because it ain't gonna help. And I've been down that road lots of times. It doesn't lead to anywhere good. What I want to talk about is when you're in a certain moments of your life and you don't have hope for the future. That is where people lose. I feel like that is when you can get in the deepest, darkest depression moments of your life. When you're like, oh, I can get through it. There's something coming. I could just claw my way to get through it. And then as soon as you lose hope, you're like, now I got nothing. I got nothing left. And I feel like this Psalms really sums up like the hope and not having hope in your life when it just can tear you down. It says, this is Psalms 42, 5-6. Why am I discouraged? Why is my heart so sad? I will put my hope in God. I will praise him again, my Savior and my God. Now I am deeply discouraged, but I will remember you, even from the distant Mount Hermon and the source of the Jordan, from the land of Mount of Mizar. But anyway, so he's talking about not having hope, and it's so sad and depressed. But as soon as you find your hope is in God, that is what can actually pull you out of that depression. And something to look forward to is because you have God and you know one day you will be with him, and he is our hope and he is our joy and our foundation and everything we have. We look forward to.
I'll share my testimony a little bit more on that. I've spoken with you guys before. Is in 2022, we lost somebody in our office. I started looking at, there's a woman, and so her husband was alone with the 2 kids. I started looking at my life, getting depressed in that, like the what if moment, like what if God, but I didn't, well, now I say what if God, but like if my wife was taken from me, how would I feel about it? And I saw him go down a path of, just dark. He's pulled himself out of it now, or God's pulled himself out of it. And then I lost a year and a half prior to that. I lost my best friend, and so like there was like a year of funk, like what if going on. I didn't know then what it was, but it was the enemy, pushing you further and further. Yeah. And then once I came into church and gave my life over to Christ, this literal light switch come on, and the hope was restored. Not just for here on earth. It was the eternal.
That's good.
Like things like we'll say with Job, everything can be taken away from me, but my love for God will stay the same. And so like since then, some things have happened, or some things have gotten better, some things gotten worse, or whatever. But the whole time I'm still praising God. And so like that's.
You have that hope to look forward to. Something.
It's kind of hard to explain it to you. That's why you just tell people to get into the Word. Yeah. That does a lot better than I can. You know.
Right.
A practical look at something like that, or way to look at that in our like just normal world. But so I ran a race one time, and the race was 24 hours long. There is no finish line. It's just whoever runs the most miles wins the race. So there is like it's super hard to stay. Like when you're running a marathon, you're running 26 miles and it's over. When you're doing something like this, you have no really bearing of how far you're going to have to push and how much you're going to have to run. You set goals like, oh, I want to do 100 in 24 hours. I want to do X, Y, and Z in 24 hours. But there is no knowledge of the finish line. You're just out there and you're just running until this thing is over, whatever that looks like. So you have to stay focused on the task at hand. You have to constantly be reminding yourself and reframing and retraining your brain in real time to be very honed in on the task at hand. So for us, like every single lap, you have to make the commitment, I'm going to come back to this seat every single time. I'm not going to the car. I'm not leaving, even though it's every time you finish, you're right there again. And you can leave, you can go home, whatever. Every single day when you wake up, you can make that decision. It's like, I'm just going to go home. I'm not going to continue to run this race. I'm not going to do it. But as the race goes on, that battle becomes harder. The process is the same. The 1 mile loop is a 1 mile loop at 7 p.m. as it is at 7 a.m. the next day. Like it's nothing has changed except for the fact that you're tired. The journey is hard. You don't know the finish line. You didn't know the challenges that you would face in the last 12 hours in your daily life. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know when you're going to run into the next hardship. You don't know what's coming, but you have to stay focused on the process. But as that 24 hours comes to a close, you start to look at those goals. You start to look at the things that you've set for yourself to accomplish. You're like, I'm still so far away from that. There's no hope to continue. I can't get there. There's no point in continuing on. In your life, there's always hope to continue on because we have Jesus. And so whenever you're looking and you're like, there's no hope, I can't accomplish these things in business. You have Jesus. There's hope to continue on. I can't accomplish these things in medicine or in ministry
but God, that whole thing.
But God, we have Jesus. So there is the hope that lives within you. Be prepared to give a testament for the hope that lives in you. You have that hope in you at all times. And so no matter what you're trying to accomplish, if you can't get there, if it's out of your realm or out of your range, it may not have been meant for you. Maybe you weren't supposed to get there. Maybe you were supposed to do something else.
Yeah, maybe you weren't supposed to be in Mississippi. Maybe you weren't, supposed to have a bad morning,
Right.
And so there was a choice and an opportunity to get back to the hope.
And to be fair, that night, that race, I didn't run 100 miles. That was my goal. And I ran 78 point whatever, like 78.7. I, honest to God, believe I didn't run 100 miles, and it was intentional. Because I've taken so many lessons from not reaching that 100 miles and so many things looking back. I've talked about it in so many different ways in different realms. I think it was supposed to end that way.
Yeah.
And that's not a cop-out.
No.
Because I could have walked. I mean, I was so close to I could have walked and gotten to the finish line. So it's not like I couldn't go try it again.
Yeah. Right.
But I think I was supposed to fail.
Yeah.
I think I was supposed to be humbled. But also think I was
got going on every day.
Supposed to understand concepts like this. It's like you got to be endurance is a piece of this. And
yeah, there's a lot of times in my life where it's like I can get through it. I got this hope, something great, something good is going to happen. It's going to be easy. And then as soon as like I can picture this of like maybe whenever Reese was first born, you know, when you first have a baby and you're like, you don't get any sleep, you get zero sleep, and the first couple months you're like, this is never going to end. My life's never going to get better than I'm never going to get 2 hours of sleep back to back.
Groundhog Day every day.
Yeah, exactly. But then you have like, you know, you'll have like a 3 hour, 4 hours of sleep. You're like, oh man, that's good. I have that hope. And then the next day you're like, no, not getting sleep again. But as long as you have that like little bit of hope that it's coming, something better is coming, that's what can get you through it. Because if you're like, it's never going to end, you're just going to quit and you're going to run away and you're not going to ever come back because you don't have that hope in your life. So keep going.
You know, you talked about not having community when you were away from home and all. And when I was stationed wherever, the last place I was at, I was 8 hours away from home. I could go home every weekend I wanted, but I didn't. Because I just knew if I went home, that I would want to stay there. Not gonna go AWOL or anything, but that's what I wanted. So I stayed away from home for as long as I could because I knew I was gonna get out. Is what it was. I was gonna get out. So it was like a 9-month period of like me not coming home. And I'm talking about I should have went home probably. Should have went home as often as I could. It was legally allowed. If I wanted to go home. Because when I got out of the military, I was still stuck in that funk, and I spent another 6 months. Theoretically away from home. I was never with my family, never with my friends. I was with people I didn't even know. And I was just, because I isolated myself. I didn't have God then, you know. I wasn't a believer or anything. And so it wasn't good choices. So there wasn't a hope. Like,
You're saying come back to Jesus.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of what I felt when you were talking about that.
Yeah, it's like I should have, well, Jesus is your home. Yeah. Right? Come back home. Each time.
That's good.
We talked about off camera, like, can you lose your salvation and all that, you know? And someone who's going through depression, they're not going to lose their salvation unless they forsake right. So there's some theory behind that. But I feel like if they just come back home.
Yeah, come back home.
And we can go the clinical side of stuff. Go get some medical help.
Yep.
You know, please do. Use every avenue, even the faith avenue, as your way to find your way back home.
That's good.
Yeah.
Was that too deep?
No,
it's
I
good.
think it's
really
good. Yeah. I wanted to say for the people who, let's say you don't have family. Let's say that going home physically isn't an option for you. The mistake that I made where I was is that I didn't find community of the right people. And that's a hindsight thing. Like I didn't know it in the moment. Here's
you're going to remember that though.
Yeah. Well, here's a hindsight moment for you if this is where you find yourself. Go get into community.
Yes.
It's the hardest points in my life, the hardest times in my life. It was the faith community around me who sustained me.
Yeah.
They're the ones who were supporting. They were the ones who were there praying. They were the ones who were there providing. They were the ones who were caring. They are the ones who helped sustain our family through tough times.
Yes.
But I've said it before. They don't know to come.
No.
If they don't know that you're going through it.
That's good.
And so if you're not willing
you're not asking
to,
for help,
it's not even, you don't even have to be asking for help. You just have to be open to
Vulnerable.
a group of people being a part of your life. Look, we were not designed to live this life alone. We were designed to live in community. We were designed to go to church and to be in the body of the, like you joked in the front end that you're not religious. None of us are religious, but we do need the community of people around us.
The body,
to pour into us and invest into us to be a part of it. If you're really dealing with an issue where you're lonely and you feel downtrodden, but you feel like this isn't the place for you, you're wrong. This is the place for you. This is a body of people who love you and care for you.
If you're in with a group of people who you still feel alone with them, they're not the right people to be with.
That's good.
Go find the people who support you.
And I'll say this. If you're a person who doesn't have faith right now, but you're going through these things, try Jesus.
Try it. Yeah, it's a pretty good message.
Come to church. Find a church that teaches the Bible.
Church is a hospital, man.
If you are not a believer and you're living a life that is in sin under what the Bible says it is, don't go to a church that affirms what you're doing. No. Go to one that teaches the Bible.
Dude's breaking some fire over there.
But go to one.
Yeah.
Listen.
A biblical mind. A church that teaches the Bible.
Be open to what's taught. Be open to the community around you. I think you'll be shocked.
And if you find that, if you feel down because of the conviction that you're, repent. If you feel the conviction in you of your life that you lived prior, transform yourself into a follower of Christ.
Oh, no. I mean for you to come to Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's not get this twisted. But I want you to come
it's not a self-help book you can pick up and go to the next,
No. Yeah. But I do want you to come in this place, and I do want you to hear the gospel. I do want you to be in community because there is incredible power when God's people come together and pray for one another and invest in one another.
100%. I wish I could be a little more articulate on how I feel about it, because from January 2023 till now, my life looks nothing like it did in December of 2022.
Oh, and don't get me wrong.
It is the weirdest thing.
These people are not perfect.
Nope.
No.
There are people that will piss you off
yes.
every day until Sunday.
But I love them, though.
Yep.
But the net benefit of this place is incredible. And the body of believers coming together, worshiping and learning and growing together is incredible. It's not a religious act.
Nope.
No.
But it's an act of obedience.
Yep. We're not religious. We have a strong relationship with Jesus Christ.
And we all get together and celebrate it.
Yes. Sure. It's good.
And
come drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. No.
If they're serving Kool-Aid.
Sorry, Mr. Jones.
If they're serving Kool-Aid, don't go to that church either. The church serving Kool-Aid, not that church.
What I want to say is the moment in my life where I was saved as a kid, and the moment in life, I've talked about it before, that I've turned myself and started following Jesus was the most depressing moment in my life is when I started following God. So if you're in that moment, maybe try to listen to what God's telling you. He might be telling you something. Yeah. Listen to him.
Oh, hey, we were talking about that earlier about conscience versus Holy Spirit and, filtering stuff and all that. That's pretty good. Yeah. Listen to what God is saying to you.
Yeah. He might be knocking on your heart and you just got to be like,
be quiet.
I'm in this tough moment. Maybe there's a reason I'm going through, like you were saying. Maybe I'm supposed to lose that race because God's trying to tell me something. To learn something from
it. Well, my daughter's friends invited us to the church. I came here 3 times that week just to gear up and get ready because God was like, you have to go. You can't deny your daughter to go to church.
What do you mean you came 3 times?
I went to the parking lot and sat in the parking lot for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or I drove up here, went around the parking lot, and I was like, okay, we're going through that door. That's where they said it was going to be at. Or I just drove by and was like, oh, okay, well, we'll be there Wednesday because it was for Pointman semester January of last year.
I don't even prep that much to go get dinner.
Yeah. I had this feeling that.
For a job interview.
No.
Right.
I find out where it is and how long it's going to take me, and I add 10 minutes.
Right, yeah. No, it was a preparation for, I knew this was a change in my life that was going to happen because I never once, give good credit to my wife where it's at, is that God obviously used my daughter as our avenue to get to God, get back to Him, find home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We have spoken about God in the house prior, and we knew about a creator. Yep. Jesus was this robe wearing dude who died on the cross.
That's that's one of the things. We live in the South,
right?
And in the South, it's just part of our culture,
right? It's what it is. God bless you. It's an insult in the South.
If you really have a relationship with Him or not, it's like, oh yeah, God, that guy, the Methodist church down the street.
That's what it was like. Obviously my dad being a Baptist deacon, it was around in his house after I came home from the military, and but I prepped. Because I knew that there was going to be a change in my life because of my daughter. She wanted it. She talked about it.
I think God was after you.
100%. And I just,
the more we have conversations about that moment in your life, I think God was literally after you for a reason. Yeah. Because why? First off, the whole thing where you gamble with a God you didn't even believe in, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Who are you gambling with?
Yeah. Well, we talk about, we look around.
God, if you're there, creator. I will give my life to you if this happens.
Well, I cured my mom of cancer, so.
But that's what I'm saying. You clearly believe that He existed, or you wouldn't have made a bet with him. You'd have been like, that's not a thing you do.
Here's another weird thing. So that was October of 2022. In March of 2022, my mom was she was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. She came to the house, brought some gifts over to my family, and my mom was real quiet. So I walked into the car. My mom sat on the porch with me and broke the news to me. I didn't cry once, didn't shed a tear. My mom's like, "You okay?" And I said, "I think we're going to be okay." She's like, "Why do you feel that way?" And I said, "I think we're just going to be okay." And she's like, "Well, that's some confidence that I really needed." And my mom's therapy and chemo and all that, I'm talking like rattled off W's. And it was just like, this was the smoothest stage 3 fight I've ever seen in my life, because I had just lost my friend 5 months prior to that. And it was different. He was stage 4 colon cancer. My mom was stage 3. And I was like, we're going to be okay. I don't know what it was, but I had this weird knocking going on inside my head.
Yeah, I think he was after you, man. And it's, I mean, even up until the point of you saying that you came and sat in this parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you were praying about your visit, but I'm saying you were praying about your visit, whether you realized it or not.
So it's I'm glad you said that about coming home.
Yeah.
There's a revival happening. I see it. Being a new believer, I see a lot of new believers. It's coming around. And so I feel like we had a depressed culture. We probably still do.
We do.
And it will always be that way.
It's the most depressed
it's not a culture of God.
Yeah.
We don't have a culture of God nowadays. It's gone. But I believe that in your darkest of times, finding the hope in God is the best thing. Like you're talking about Jesus, a gentleman, knocking on the door.
Good.
He's not gonna, grab you by the collar and say, this ain't Old Testament Jesus or God. This is
no, sometimes he'll come. Sometimes he'll punch in the.
I think sometimes he knocks you out.
Punch in the head. That's what had to happen to me for me to turn. But sometimes he'll use it and just say, "Hey, I need you to turn to me. Do it."
And, to wrap this up, we have this floating conversation around the topic of, do you have to go through something just incredibly difficult it comes up all the time to establish a relationship with Jesus. The answer is no. But I think it goes along. I've never really thought about it until just now, the way you just said that, where I think some people, it's a knock.
Yep.
Yeah.
For some people, all it takes is, hey, Dad, my friend wants me to go to church with her on Sunday.
Yep.
And it's a radical shift in your life. And you don't even see it coming.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you're in a position where God's like, hey, I got you once out of this crap.
Yeah.
I saved you when you were 6. And you still did what? And then it's when you get knocked out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you find yourself in church. Yeah, you do find yourself in those dark times.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But no, the answer is no. You do not have to go through something incredibly difficult to come to faith in Jesus.
You wanted to spur off a real quick. Your dad showed this to me in the Bible. I asked him, what was that, one of your small groups that we had? I asked him about the people committed suicide. Do they still go to heaven? Your dad showed me in the Bible where they still do.
Yep.
And it I'll cry about it right now, but it changed my complete outlook on what salvation really is. And it gave me hope that I'll get to see these people.
You're talking about like salvation through grace by faith?
Yeah. And it completely changed.
By grace through faith.
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It
completely changed on what heaven's going to look like for us.
For sure.
And your dad, when he showed that to me, I was like, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you'll know
I think I needed that. I had a lot of questions. I doubted a lot of stuff.
Sure.
You've spoken that to me about.
Sure.
I doubted, I made jokes on the reels. People are like, why? You read the Bible for the first time and you're like, what? Well, why did you teach us that, God? And okay.
Yeah.
And
like the Sheldon Cooper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what? And he flips the page, he's like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I doubted God for a while on some things that I thought the Bible was written completely by man, just by man's opinion. And that's completely lie. It's,
all scripture is breathed out by God. Let me repeat. All scripture is breathed out by God.
And we're just an instrument for the Lord. And once I figured that out, and then your dad showing me in scripture where even though someone does take their own life, as long as they were saved when they were truly saved, then you're going to be in heaven.
Amen.
So
it's good. Yep. I'm going to wrap it up.
This has been a conversation about depression.
Yep.
But let me leave you with this, is that there is hope in Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
If you're in a dark space, if you've been in a dark space, you're going to go through dark spaces. Yep. There's always hope in Jesus.
Yep.
A relationship with him is the way to the narrow path to eternity. And salvation is only found through a relationship with him.
Amen. I'll preach that all day.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's good.
And so with that, this has been an interesting episode of the Pointman podcast, but I think it's good. And we will be back next time with a new conversation, a new topic. Make sure you like and subscribe all the places, do all the things, and we'll check you out next time.